future. But he did, and he lasted. I think he lasted about a week and a half.
Well, it's a hot topic amongst all West Ham fans. West Ham's academy, the academy of football. Does it work? Why does it exist? We will have to wait and see, because tonight, 9 o'clock, make sure you do join us. We have the oracle of all West Ham academy, Tony Carr, coming on. He's been on the channel several times before. This one's a little bit different. We're going to be talking about why academies exist and what they can do moving forward. However, a certain Mr. Mark Noble has done a little interview with a couple of newspapers and spoke out and given his opinion on the academy. And since he's retired and turned into his new role as a sporting director, he hasn't technically hung up his boots just yet. Now, he did take on his new role back in January the 3rd, and he spent his first month in the job learning the ropes and really immersing himself in the club's academy. He told the Evening Standard that he still puts his boots on and he trains with the under-18s and under-21s, because you only know firsthand what they're like when you're training with them. It's great because I get to see them firsthand, and I'm probably the best person in the world for them to ask questions about what it's like to break into the team. Now, for me as a fan listening to that, thinking that the academy is getting a legend who just retired only a short few months ago, playing week in and week out, training week in and week out with him, that's like bringing a first team squad player, or putting the players into the first team squad setup. Different, of course, because you've not got the full group of players, but someone who has captained our club through thick and thin and is widely respected in the footballing world, to be playing side by side with the under-18s and under-21s. Surely that's only going to help them. And he said himself he wants to maintain his football fix, so that's why he's doing it. But of course, on top of that, he said, you know, it's good to put the pressure onto the youngsters to let them understand what the pressure is when you are playing at that level and getting all those questions, you know, being through tough times. What's it like when you're a young guy stepping through to the Premier League, when you came through and made your debut, when you scored that goal against Tottenham, when you got relegated, when you got promoted? That's only going to add massive amount of value to the club. Now, he said after winning the outstanding contribution at London Football's event, which he will then receive at Camden's Roundhouse on March the 13th. He said he was honoured to be associated with some of the names that have won it in the past. Arsene Wenger, Frank Lampard, Harry Redknapp, Les Ferdinand. They're all legends of the Premier League era. They've done so much for the game, so you don't expect to win this kind of award. So it's really special, which kind of shows you the attributes and where it really catapults Mark Noble and how well respected in football he is. Now, what's really interesting is he kind of dives in a little bit deeper, telling you about what he gets up to. And he speaks a lot to agents, liaising with the chairman, David Sullivan, and David Moyes, of course. And he speaks to both of them every single day. He says, bouncing ideas off Moyes and keeping Sullivan up to speed with the football side of club. And coincidentally, since he's been into the club, we've had a little bit uptick in form. I wonder if that's something to read into, or if I'm, you know, taking little different turns here, there, and everywhere. And he's trying to learn the game. On top of that, he's speaking to people all over the world who have done the job, technical directors at Roma, Monaco, all that sort of things. But one thing he said is about the job, the technical directors, is even though they've got a lot more experience than him, why wouldn't he want to learn from them? We all do it different ways, but he did say, I will do it my way. Noble will have a say on first team signings, but it's the academy that he keeps coming back to, and he's hopeful that 2 or 3 young players will be blooded into the first team squad by the start of next season. And West Ham, as we know, were regarded as one of the best club in the country of developing players, and given extravagant spending, you know, that the rivals like Chelsea have and beyond, Noble believes it's even more important for West Ham to go back to producing the young talent. He went on and he said, in this role, I found a real affection for working with the academy and trying to get as many players into the first team as we can. He goes on and he references Enzo Fernandez, how Benfica signed them for 15 million euros and then sold him to Chelsea for 105 million pounds. So he says that, you know, trying to show you how difficult it is now in the modern world of a young player. And he says that you need to be maybe at the standard of Declan Rice for you to be able to come through the ranks. But he says it's so important to bring the young boys through because any young English player who plays in the Premier League all of a sudden has a £30 million price tag. And for us, that's fantastic. And it's nice to know at some point we might be able to spend loads of money if we can bring players through. So all that bundled up into one gives you a little mindset of where our academy sits and what the purpose of the academy is. He talks a lot about bringing the youth through, giving them opportunities. And if you find a diamond, great. And if you sell on, you make a profit, then even better as well. But he obviously wants to bleed these young guys into the first team squad. And we all know he's had that passion in the past. If you think about when Diangana was sold, how he spoke out loud about that, him leaving the club, albeit, it seemed to be the right decision, getting the money at the time for a player like Diangana. But having someone with his absolute experience since he's joined the club, working at that level with those players is only going to do them the world of good. Now, let me talk to you about some of the players that we've got. Now, I'm going to talk to you about a couple. Ollie Scarles, for example, can he come in and replace Aaron Creswell? Can he be the next left back, the next left wing back? Could he really make the step up to the team? Now, Aaron Creswell, at 33, has established himself as one of the Premier League's most consistent fullbacks, boasting defensive tenacity paired with a cutting edge going forward. Whilst the former remains in recent season, he hasn't seen his latter return, and that's diminished. So in this campaign, he's yet to score a goal or an assist in a domestic competition, and he's also earned particular, name last season for his 2 red cards during the infamous European run, which he was lambasted for letting the team down. I mean, I'm not necessarily just solely blaming him, but those 2 big incidences during that time were maybe down to the fact that he lacked that little bit of pace. And few will likely have forgotten that as well, but we can't deny for the fact that things like that have taken over and the average age of our backline has aged. Now, for me, Ollie Scarles would be a natural replacement for Creswell. He's 17 years old, and he's already began staking his claim following his first senior appearance late in 2022. He's had 7 goal contributions in just 10 games for the under-18s, and he's a teenage sensation. He's improved himself far too technically proficient for the youth football. He's even translated that into the under-23s, where he's notched his first goal too. And it's been a whirlwind of a season for the youngster, who was lauded as one of the shining lights expected to break in the first team. And Moyes himself has been particularly vocal of praise for Scarles, and he's offered this verdict after his shown during his debut. He said, "We think he's stylish on the ball, he's composed, and he's got a lot of growing to do. He has a 16-year-old body at the moment. It's clear that he should put the work in. He should be ready for some regular senior football. It all relies on him preparing his body for that challenge, as his quality on the ball already puts him at the necessary level." The key element, what Moyes is probably saying, and what I'm starting to realise, and having a family member in a youth setup at a professional team, is when you're ahead of the curve, it's about how you stay ahead of the curve at that age. And that's what Ollie Scarles needs to do. From what we've saw, technical ability, he is there. He is absolutely there. Yes, we want him to make that step up, but the physicality of the Premier League is very, very different. And you have to have the ability to be able to take the ball by guys like Onana of Everton. Look at the size of the geezer. I mean, it's going to be a tough gig, so you need to weigh in with your strengthening and conditioning, and the Premier League's a whole new animal. But I do think we've got a future talent here. The positive is that these younger players are getting opportunities in senior level a lot quicker than what they have done in recent years. You're talking about, and listen, I'll say it again, Alessi's that player that I thought they'd get away, but he was the wrong side of 20. Ekwa, the wrong side of 20. They're not going to get their chance now. They were never going to get their chance. And that frustrates fans. Ashby's the same. That frustrates West Ham fans. But we're now really starting to focus in on 16 and 17 and 18-year-olds. Let's look at Sean Moore, the Northern Ireland lad who we're looking and tracking up from Cliftonville. He looks like a proper talent, a kind of Messi-esque style player. You're looking for that next special talent that can step up and make the grade in the Premier League. But I do think Ollie Scarles is going to do it. Moyes has said it himself. And I think with the guidance of someone like Mark Noble giving you the senior version of what goes on and having that in your team, oh my word. I can't think off the top of my head unless you're a coach coaching at that level who would actually have a ex-pro who's just retired, playing, training with you week in and week out. That's huge for the young players. Another player, though, we can talk about is Divin Mubama. I mean, a guy, this guy excites me because he's a forward. It's different to a fullback, but, you know, he's thriving at the under-18s Premier League, where he's had 4 goals in as many games. He's translated this form into the success for the under-21s too by scoring 6 times in just 11 appearances. He also notched an assist in our final group match in a European run, which saw his diving header deflected in for our second goal. Although it went down as an own goal, he said no one could take that moment away from him, and I certainly wouldn't take that moment away from him at all. And Moyes has considered Divin in his plans as recently as our clash against Derby County in the FA Cup, where he did come off the bench. And before the game, Moyes said, I'd like to have Divin involved. I like him around the group. He gives us great energy and he's a great runner. He's willing to work and run for the team. He's a real team player, which I really like. We like him and I think he's got a chance. And perhaps Mubama should start to see that chance. Tougher when you've got players like Scamacca coming back from injury and you've got Danny Ings coming back from injury. But is he a fine replacement for what Antonio can achieve? I think what you've got in Divin is a natural-born goal scorer. That's the difference, really, between someone like Divin and Antonio. Antonio isn't the natural-born goal scorer, but we've got to give him credit where credit's due. He's turned into a striker. You can see that when his back is to goal. He's slower at getting the ball around the defender, where Divin's natural ability, if you watch him in the youth setup, is to try and break those that penetrate that defense by making those darting runs. And that's sometimes what West Ham have lacked for such a long time, is that natural instinct of a striker. I think Scamacca's got it. You can see his vision and his body shape is always facing forward, even when the ball's coming from behind. He's got the peripheral vision to see where the ball's coming from. Divin looks like he's got that. Ings has got that naturally. Antonio's had to work hard to find that, and there's the difference there. So obviously when it comes to Antonio, I think that transition may happen this summer. But what an amazing thing to have would have someone like Mubama making a step up, getting a chance in the first team setup, which we've already seen. And I tell you what, even against Derby, yeah, okay, it was lower league opposition. He didn't look out of place. He didn't look out of place when he played the European tie as well. So the difference between players like Divin Mubama and Mipu Odebiku is that I actually think Mipu Odebiku is quite lightweight, light on his feet. And I think that's a problem. Just taking apart the Manchester United game, taking that and pushing that to the side. I witnessed him training several times. I think there's a quality finisher there, but I think there's a certain level of player that or league that he could belong to. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him leaving our permanent in the summer. It's because Divin's there. Divin's ready to rock and roll. And at whatever level Divin has played at, he is scoring goals. And what I love about it is he seems really humble. And if there's a break in the under-18s, he wants to play for the under-21s. And if there's a break for the under-21s, he wants to go back to the 18s. He just wants to play football. He's enjoying himself. And sometimes, you know what? I'm not a football coach, but I think to myself, why not throw him in? Sometimes just throw him into the mix and just see what happens. I don't think a player as humble as him playing in the West Ham starting lineup would have a negative impact to the level that what it maybe looked like it had on Mipu Odebiku. But the future's bright, the future's claret and blue. There is absolutely a place for our academy. The academy is not dead. I'm not worried about that. Join me tonight to get Mr. Tony Carr's opinion. Let's see if he can change my opinion. Let's see if he thinks it's gone. Let me see if he thinks it's changed. There's no doubts about it. The academy has changed. But there are players there that have got real talent, and these are the two that are at the forefront of every West Ham's mindsets and all on the edge of our tongues to see if they're going to get through and get an opportunity in the first team. Mark Noble has said he hopes it will bleed 2 to 3 academy players through to the first team by the end of start of the new season. Let's see if he follows through that promise. Fingers crossed he does. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button. Give the channel a good bit of support. Hit the bell notification. That bell notification will notify you when our shows do go live. If you're interested in becoming a channel member, hit that membership option as well. Join us later on for the Hammers headline. Thank you very much for watching. And of course, take it easy. Come on, you Irons.